All right, good noon. Yeah, good noon. Good day, mathematicians. Here's my second video in our integrated prep series. So I'm on lesson 1.1.2 in those workbooks. Uh, and this lesson focuses on describing and extending patterns just like the the title suggests. But this is a huge skill that you're going to be using as you progress through math classes. In math, we try to find patterns and we try to translate those patterns into formulas, into equations to make our lives a little easier. So this skill will definitely help you in the long run. Okay, so there are a few things that are going to happen here with these problems. But before we get into them, make sure you cover up your answers. Okay, because then that'll defeat the purpose. All right. So again, as I was saying, there are a few things we're going to do in these problems. So it says for each dot pattern, we're going to draw the next figure. So that's the first step. Draw the next figure, and then we need to determine the number of dots in figure 10. So if we were to continue drawing these, right, we're gonna count the dots in figure 10. But drawing figures, for example, in question 1, if we were to draw figure 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, that may take us a really long time. So we're going to rely on our skill of using patterns here. To make, some educated guesses. Well, they're not going to be so much guesses. They're actually going to, require some calculation. Okay, so let's get right into it. So first thing, I need to draw figure 4. I'm going to abbreviate it fig, because figs are tasty. So first thing that I would do is I'd try to examine really what's happening as we progress through the figures. So from figure 1 to figure 2, I notice that this here is different. I seem to be adding 5 dots stacked on top of each other. And then figure 3, I add another section of 5 dots. So in figure 4, I think it's safe to assume that my figure is going to look something like this. And then 1 more, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, following that pattern of adding 5 dots. Okay. And then in this figure, I have 20 dots. I'm going to count these really quick. In figure 1, I have 5. In figure 2, I have 10. And then figure 3, I have 15. So it looks like I'm adding 5 every single time. Another way I can think about it is I'm multiplying my figure number right here. See this figure 1, figure 2, figure 3. I can take that and I can multiply it by 5. Right? Do I get the same numbers? Do I get the same answers? Well, yes, I do. So this pattern that I'm recognizing, I can apply that to, say, something like figure 10, which is the second part of the problem. So if I were to take my figure number and multiply it by 5, I should get my number of dots, which is 50. So go ahead and double check your answers there, and you'll see that we are good to go. All right, let's go to the next one. This one's a little bit more interesting here. So in figure 1, I start with 4 dots just stacked on top of each other. Okay. And guys, may I remind you that you may have arrived at your answer using a different method, and that's okay. It's all up to your interpretation here, but so long as you arrive to the same conclusion, right, of this of figure 4 and then how many dots are in figure 10, then you're fine. Your reasoning is sound. Okay. All right. So let's continue with this. From figure 1 to figure 2, it looks like I'm adding these 3 dots. Okay. And before I move forward, I'm going to say that I'm going to use figure 1 here as like my reference point. So I'm always going to go from like figure 1 to figure 2. Figure 1 to figure 3, because in my brain this helps me a little bit more. Okay. For when we calculate for figure 10. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'll remind you once we get there. But for drawing figure 5, drawing the next figure in this pattern, Well, I noticed that I added another 3, but this time going vertically. And in figure 2, I added 3 horizontally. And then over here in figure 4, I added another 3, and this time going horizontally. So I think for figure 5, it is safe to assume that I'm going to add another 3 dots going vertically now. So my figure may look something like this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, and 3. Right, and I'll highlight the 3 that I just added. And there we go. So there's the difference. Okay, and let's count how many dots are in this really quick. So 4 plus 3 is 7, plus 3 is 10, plus 3 is 13, plus 3, it looks like there are 16 dots here. Okay. Now for figure 10, we need to figure out some sort of pattern that's going to help us figure out how many dots are in figure 10. Because like I said before, drawing all of the figures leading up to figure 10 is going to take you a long time. Okay, so here's where I'm reminding you. I'm going to erase some of this here. So I'm going to use my figure 1 as a reference point, and then I'm going to state some differences going from figure 1 to figure 2, figure 1 to figure 3, and then figure 1 to figure 4. Okay, so I know that I always start with 4, okay? And in figure 2, I added 3. Okay, I added 3 to that original 4. Then, if I'm going from figure 1 to figure 3, how many am I adding? Well, I'm adding 2 groups of 3 this time. So I have this group of 3, and then I have this group of 3. Okay? And then going from figure 1 to figure 4, I have this group of 3, I have this group of 3, and then I have this group of 3. Now, typically the rules or the patterns that you will see kind of relate to these figure numbers. So if I'm trying to write an equation of some sort here, right, I know that 4 is going to be my starting point, so I know I'm definitely going to include 4 in my equation here. So I have 4, but I need to add something, okay? In problem 1, remember that we took our figure number and we multiplied it by the number of dots. So let's go ahead and try that. I'm going to try multiplying figure 2, and I know I'm adding 3 dots, right? So 2 times 3, but that equals 6, right? Did I add 6 dots here? I added 6 dots in figure 3, so that might work there, but for figure 1, I need to only add 3 dots. So what can I do here? So what I might suggest is you're going to take your figure number, okay, and you're going to subtract it by 1 before you multiply it by 3. Okay, so let's digest this. I'm gonna try this for each figure, okay? So if I take my figure number, which is I'm gonna switch colors here, which is this, right? I subtract by 1, so now I get 1, right? In parentheses I have this 1, and I multiply by 3. Hey, I get the 3 that I'm adding, right? So I'm going to write that in words down below. So just to keep it here. So I'm going to put brackets just because, I don't know, I feel like using brackets here. So figure number minus 1, and then you're going to multiply that by 3. So let's see if this works. So in figure 2, I have a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 7 dots. So if I use my little formula here, 4 plus, and I'm just using this here, what I did here, plus 3, and that indeed equals 7. Let's test it for figure 3 now. Okay, so my figure number is 3. I'm going to do my work up here. Okay, so my figure number is 3. So I'm using my equation here, 4 plus my figure number, which is 3, minus 1. Right, and then I multiply that by 3. So doing a little bit of order of operations here, 4 plus 3 minus 1 is 2, so I do this first. Times 3. I do multiplication before I do any addition. 4 plus 6, and that equals 10. How many dots do I have in figure 3? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Hey, that works. Excellent. I think we got a pattern here. Let's try it for figure 4 just to be safe. So using the same formula that we came up with, or the same equation we came up with, we're going to do 4 plus my figure number. So in this case, I'm at figure number 4 minus 1, and then I'm going to multiply whatever that is by 3. So doing my brackets first, my grouping symbols. 4 plus 3 times 3, do multiplication before any addition. 4 plus 9, and I get 13. Let me double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Excellent. There we go. So I think this is safe to say that this will work for our figure 10. So figure 10, let's go ahead and use our formula. So 4 plus our figure number minus 1, and then we're going to multiply that by 3. So let's go ahead and move along. 4 plus 9 times 3. 4 plus 27 is 31. So figure 10 has 31 dots. Let's double check our work, double check your answers. And there we go. All right, let's keep going. Figure number 3. Ooh, almost dropped my pen there. So let's see what is happening here. So we start with 2 dots, and it looks like I add a dot on top, and then I add a row of 3 dots. So that's what's happening here. So I added 4. Okay, I'm just writing down the things that I notice are happening, and some of these things may help us figure out a pattern, some of them may not, and that's okay. Okay, and then from figure 2 to figure 3, it looks like we are adding this right here, and that's 6 dots. So immediately my brain is like, okay, well, I think in figure 4, my brain is thinking, well, I started with 2, and then I added 4, and then I added 6. So in figure 4, I should probably add 8. So my figure now might look something like this. So I'm gonna, before I add anymore, I'm going to draw figure 3. Okay, there we go. So there's figure 3, and then now I need to add 8. So I'm thinking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'll highlight that for you guys. So what I added, hold on. Let me change the thickness here. Maybe something like that. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that is what I added in figure 4. Okay. Now we need to figure out how many dots are going to be in figure 10. And you might have noticed that, hey, I can just take my figure number and I can multiply it by 2 to get the number that I need to add. Right? So in this case, I'm starting with I'm starting with 2. So sorry, not multiplying figure 1 by 2, but we're starting with 2. And then from that point on, right, I can take my figure number, which is here. So, and then I'm going to add these, of course, because I'm adding more dots. So I'm going to take my figure number, and then I'm going to multiply it by 2. Let me write that in words first, kind of like what we did for the other So figure number, and we're going to multiply it by 2. And then that'll get us the total number of dots. So let's do some math here and double check our work. So we start with 2. I'm going to go right below. So we start with 2. So I'm on figure 2 plus my figure number. So I'm on figure 2, and then I multiply it by 2. Right? Does that give me 4, which I know that I added? Yes, it does. So 2 plus 4, and so now we have 6 dots. So let's try the next one. Starting with 2, and then I'm adding hold on a second, guys. Wait just 1 second. Okay, no, hold on. I'm gonna continue with what I'm doing here. So 2 plus 2 times 3. All right, so 2 plus 6, that equals 8. Let's double check to see if we have 8 dots here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, maybe not. I don't think this rule is going to work. So that's okay. We're going to try again. So let's take a look at some of the things that we're noticing. So here in figure 1, I have 2. In figure 2, let's count the total number of dots. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 dots. In figure 3, I have 1, 2, 3 by 4. That's 12. So let me see if there's a pattern that I can figure out here. So I noticed that I'm multiplying my first figure by 2, and then my second figure by 3, and then my third figure by 4. Interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna write this out in words. So I'm going to take my figure number. Okay, and I'm going to multiply that. Well, I noticed that the number that I'm multiplying by, so this one right here, it's always one more than my figure number, right? Let me double check. Hold on. Let me double check with figure 4. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 by 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I multiply this by 5, I get 20 total dots. So yeah, this holds true here as well. Okay, so so what I'm multiplying my figure number by is, I'm going to abbreviate now, my figure number plus 1. And that gets me my total number of dots. So to show you how this works, so I'm going to start with figure 2. So I have 2, right, because that's my figure number. And I'm going to multiply that by my figure number, which is 2 plus 1. And so now I get 2 times 3, which gets me 6. And that works exactly how I need it to. Okay, there we go. I think we found something here. So let's go ahead and check figure 10. So what I'm doing is I'm taking my figure number, and I'm multiplying that by my figure number plus 1. So what is 10 times 11? Well, that is just 110 dots. So in figure 10, I have 110 dots. And there we go. Woo! All right, we're halfway there. Okay, so, man, I'm sorry guys, there's not a lot of room here. Okay, in figure 4. So I start with 4 dots. Okay, that's cool. And then, I see my original 4 dots, but I'm adding dots on the top and the very bottom. So I added 2 dots. And then in figure 3, I added even more. So in figure 4, I'm gonna have to draw a little small here. So I know that I start with my 4 in the middle, and then so I had 2 extra on the top and then 2 extra on the bottom for figure 3. And so I think I'm just going to add one more for figure 4. So I should have something like this. And I'll highlight what I added. So boom, right there at the very top and the very bottom. So it seems like I'm adding 1 dot at the top and 1 dot at the bottom for every iteration of this pattern. Okay. All right, now let's try and figure out, well, how many dots are in figure 10? Well, one thing that I'm noticing is that the number of dots on the top and the bottom, so take figure 1 for example, matches the figure number. So for figure 2, look, I have 2 on top, 2 on the bottom, and then I have, that's my figure number. So for figure 10, just thinking in my brain, I know I'm going to have 10 dots on the top, 10 dots on the bottom, right, following this pattern here, right? So I know 10 plus 10 is 20, and then I always have the 2 dots, or yeah, these 2 extra dots on the side. So 10 plus 10 is 20, plus another 2, so it looks like figure 10 is going to be at 22 dots. All right, cool, not bad. Okay, number 5. So number 5, we start with figure 1. We have 4 dots. At figure 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we have 8 dots. In figure 3, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 dots. So if you might have noticed that, hey, we have for the total number of dots, it seems like I'm just multiplying my figure number by 4 every single time. So that's going to help me with my figure 10. But let's try and figure out what's going to happen with figure 4. So with figure 4, I know that I should have 16 dots, right? And I'm going to start with 1 dot on my bottom left corner, and ooh, yeah, so I'm always starting out with 1 in the left corner. Notice how that's constant across each of these iterations here. And then how many dots am I adding? Well, if you take a look, and I'll mark this with a little bracket here. And this is figure 2, I'm adding 2 dots. This is figure 3, I'm adding 3 dots. So in figure 4, I think I'm going to add 4 dots going horizontally, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to add 4 dots going up. Whoa, 4 dots going up, 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to continue my square. And let's double check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Hold on. Let me count that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So I'm not quite there just yet. Oh, you know why, guys? Because I drew this incorrectly. I remember I said I need to add 4 dots. I only added 3. So there we go. There's my 4th dot. That should make things much better. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. There we go. All right, so there's my figure 4. Except I think you guys, in your answer key, I think it says figure 5. It should be figure 4. Okay, so that's a typo there. Okay, now for figure 10, I know I'm just multiplying my figure number by 4, so I should have a total of 40 dots. All right, last one, you guys. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're dealing with here. So I notice that there are 5 total dots there. 5 plus 1, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, and then I have 12 here, and then I believe here I have 21. I don't know if that's going to help me. Let's take a look at something else. I'm seeing that. So on the very bottom I have 3, and then in figure 2, there's my original 3, and I added another 3. And then in figure 3, there's my original 3, there's my figure 2, and then, look, I'm adding 3 every time. Ooh, so in figure 4, I might have 4 groups of 3, right? So I have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So I have 4 groups of 3 on the bottom. Okay, but how many do I add on top? So here, so in figure 1, I added 2. In figure 2, I added 6. Right, so I'll highlight the piece that I'm talking about right now. So on the very top here, right, trying to find the total number of dots here. And then over here, in figure 3, I added 12. So let's see, the difference between 2 and 6, there's a difference of 4. Difference between 6 and 12, there's a difference of 6. So that must mean that I'm assuming that my next difference is going to be a difference of 8. So that means that I'm adding a block of 20 on top of this. So let me see. How am I going to arrange this though? I might do 4, 1, 3, 4, something like this. And then I have my dots in between. Let me double check that answer. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, that works. Awesome, cool. And I added another sheet of paper in here because I'm running out of room. So I know that, hold on, so remember our second part of the problem, we're trying to figure out how many dots are going to be in figure 10, okay? So what I have so far is I know that the very bottom of my figure, right, that very bottom line of dots, I know it's increasing by 3 every time. So I know I can take my figure number plus 3. Or, whoops, sorry, not plus 3, multiplied by 3. Ooh, excuse me, that'll make a huge difference. So I know I'm taking my figure number and I'm multiplying it by 3. And then what's happening is this business right here that I highlighted in yellow. Right, so I added a certain number of dots on the very top of this very bottom line. Okay, and I noticed that every time it's increasing by, or the difference from, say, from the next figure and the previous figure, there's always a difference of 2, right? We're always adding 2 extra dots on top. Or not 2 extra dots, but there's a difference of 2 dots. So I'm going to write this out. So these are figures. So figures 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so the difference between figure 1 and figure 2 was 4. Between figure 2 and 3, there was a difference of 6. Between figures 3 and 4, there should be a difference of 8. I'm going to continue this pattern. It looks like we're increasing by 2. So that's going to be 12, 14, 16, 18, and 20. Okay, so it might help us to actually determine the total number of dots here. Or not the total number of dots, but how many dots we are adding on top of that bottom line of dots. So in figure 1, right? So I'm gonna highlight this row because this is, all right. I'm trying to color code here. Let me make that larger. Okay, so these still correspond here. So in figure 1, I added a total of 2 dots to that baseline. Okay. In figure 2, I added 6. Right. In figure 3, I added 12 dots. So if I were making some sort of table here, this is where I would draw my lines to make it a little bit more organized. In figure 4, I added 20 dots. Right, so if I were to keep going, right, so I need to add 10 to this 20, so that's 30. Now I need to add 12, so at figure 6, I'll be at 32 extra dots on top. I need to add 14, so that's going to be, oh, whoops, not 32. That should be 42. This should be 42. Okay, and then next I'm going to add 14. So that should be 56. And then I'm going to add 16. That should be, I believe, 72. Then I'm going to add 18. That should be 90. And then finally add 20. That should be 110. So actually, I'm noticing another pattern here, but I'm gonna continue with what I'm doing. So I know that this is that bottom line of dots. So this right here, I'm gonna circle this. This is the bottom line of dots. Okay, and then I'm adding a certain amount, right? Which would be, then I'm adding the highlighted part, the highlighted section. Highlighted section. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this for figure 10. So I do figure 10, do my figure number times 3, then I add the corresponding highlighted section, plus 110, so that's 30, plus 110 for a total of 140 dots. Okay, please let me know in the comments below, guys. Did you figure out problem number 6 in a different way? And if so, please share. All right, that's it for this lesson, and I will see you guys in the next one.